Friday on the Beat, and you know what that means. It's time to fall back. We're joined today by a comedian so illustrious, so notorious, he doesn't need a last name, Sinbad, famous for not only his comedy, but his commentary. You can catch him on a new series, Rel, on Fox.
When your mother first passed away, I was kind of lonely in that house by myself. You're gonna have moments where you just call out to somebody and there's nobody there. I just want you to know it never goes away. Look, I was trying to say something inspirational, but you know, it went where it went.
And Richard Painter, an ethics lawyer who served in the Bush administration. And in his current role, he works at Crew, Citizens for Ethics. Sinbad, let's start with you. Who needs to fall back?
Pete Donaldson, man, and Ariana Grande. They both got to fall back together.
Pete Davidson and Ariana Grande.
Yeah, man, they got to fall back, man.
They rushed into this.
They didn't just rush in, man. Rush means I love you. They had too much sex.
Really? That's your theory?
That's sex. That's sex. That's heat. You're in heat. You're not in love.
You're talking about passion and whether that can move you too fast in a relationship.
Oh, yeah, you're like, oh, my God, I want to marry. Ooh, I'm going to tattoo your name all over my arm. I'm going to put your name on my finger. No.
And you have, I see, is that MLK?
And Malcolm X.
Malcolm.
Yes.
Do you have an Ariana Grande tattoo?
No.
You don't have room for that?
I don't have, well, small. Ariana, but she can fit right here. She can fit on your wrist, man.
Richard Painter, who needs to fall back this week?
Mitch McConnell, and that has nothing to do with sex. He's running around saying that the deficit is to be blamed on entitlements. And he talks about things like Medicare and other programs that middle-class Americans depend upon. I mean, there are entitlements we shouldn't have. For example, the tax cut in 2017 for the top 1%. But Mitch McConnell's out of control, and if he wants to cut back on Medicare, I think the voters may cut back on Republicans. And the other is Kellyanne Conway. She's still talking about Hillary Clinton.
With her Ivy League law degree and through her marriage to a much more popular man who actually was a two-term president that she'll never be. I don't like that kind of talk, and I avoid it.
Well, Kellyanne Conway's husband has an Ivy League law degree. He was in my class at Yale. He's an excellent lawyer, and he started off supporting Donald Trump. But take a look at his Twitter feed, G.T. Conway III. Oh, it's wonderful.
Well, and Sinbad, you see this sort of class warfare thing, which is pretty silly to begin with, because there's plenty of accomplished, interesting, smart people who may not have gone to a certain school. But on top of that, they apply this very selectively.
None of these people understand the problems of folks who are trying to make it. You got people talking about you don't need Medicare. Look at Mitch. If he was a regular dude, he's at that age. He'd be at the right age right now trying to pick up some medication. But he's got great health care. So when they
that we pay for.
Yeah, but these are the people just eating the system up, trying to stay alive, trying to get medication. What's wrong with these people?
Another important issue is a fallback that comes from a very special fallback guest who basically is phoning into the beat, so to speak. I want you to take a look. A lot of our viewers know her. I'm sure you do too. Donna Brazile wanted to pitch in a fallback today. Let's take a look.
Georgia Secretary of State Brian Kemp, it is time for him to recuse himself to allow every eligible citizen in the state of Georgia to vote, to process those voter registration forms, to allow people to get to the polls. Brian, you are fired.
You know, I understand his program. He just wants to bring slavery back, which is good for the economy. We just can't have it. I just don't think Americans going to go for it. But we're talking about in the 50s. We're talking about in the 60s, the same kind of voter fraud, trying to stop people from getting to the polls. Back then, they would try to scare with the Klan. Nothing's changed with some of these people.
I'd worked with Republican officials for a long time, and I think it's quite clear that all this voter integrity agenda is about trying to make sure that black people don't vote and try to keep Hispanics away from the polls as well. We know what it's about. There's no evidence of a serious voter fraud problem.
It's a great pairing to see Richard Painter and Sinbad together. And my thanks to both of you. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.